Arjun Erigaisi versus Levon Aronian. What a matchup we have in the 5th round of the Chennai Grandmasters 2023. And to open the game, we have Mr. S. Kailas Nathan, the MD, former MD of Microsense Systems. And he opens the game with 1e4. Whoa, this is going to be an exciting battle between Arjun and Aronian. Now, they have this huge history between themselves of having fighting games. Sometimes Arjun would win, sometimes Levon would win, and this continues today. Levon goes e5, so very solid. Until now, Aronian has had 4 draws in this tournament. Knight comes out to f3 for Arjun, and Aronian plays his knight to c6. Will we see the Italian or the Rui Lopez? What is going to be played? Arjun goes for the Scotch. Wow, that's a fighting choice there by Arjun. Pawn takes pawn. And now you take with the knight. Knight takes d4. That has been played. And knight to f6. So the main line of the Scotch opening has been played. Arjun takes. And now after pawn takes, the main move here is to push the pawn to e5, which Arjun will most likely play. No, he goes queen e2. This is not as popular. And this is kind of a sideline, you can say, in the Scotch opening. The Will Aronian gets surprised with this. Yes, he thinks for a bit and plays rook b8 after 3 minutes of thought, taking the open file with his rook. And now Arjun pushes the pawn. Now the advantage is that you can no longer pin this pawn because the queen already stands here, so the knight has to move. He plays his knight to d5, right in the center of the board. And this knight has to be moved away, so Arjun kicks it away with c4. And Levon interposes with a check, which is logical. He gives a check, and Arjun has to block it with his bishop. He does it. Interesting. Whoa, knight f4, a slightly tactical move. You can't take the knight because the bishop is pinned here. So you have to move the queen, and the queen goes to e3 for Arjun. This is still his prep. You can look at his time. He has 134 minutes almost. Levon has 1 hour 25 minutes. Takes the bishop. And now the rook takes here, attacking the pawn on b2. And Arjun saves it with b3. He just is solidifying his position, although it's kind of equal out of the opening. What is very interesting, f6. Now, this is a nice quick move here. If you take, the queen will take and attack this rook. So that's the reason why Arjun doesn't touch it. He goes bishop e2. What is interesting about this position and the opening is that it leads to fresh situation, which the players haven't studied much. And I think this is exactly what Arjun needs, because he wants to go for wins in this tournament. He has to finish on the top of the table. He has to finish first if he wants to get ahead on the FIDE circuit leaderboard. Now castling happens, and here white also short castles. And pawn comes to d6. So one of the biggest imbalance in this position is the pawn structure that is there. You can see black has this clump of pawns here in the center, and also the a pawn that is there. Queen g5 played, and Arjun simply snatches the queen. Now the move queen g5 by Levon may not be the most wise decision. The reason being, any endgame should favor white. But I think what Levon has in mind is that he feels like this pawn a5, a4 would give him a lot of counterplay, which is why he needs to get rid of this knight. And once he does that, by the way, rook e1 played, then this becomes a great idea. But it's still quite a suffering for black, one must agree, because this structurally looks really good for white. So first, Arjun takes the knight. Bishop takes most likely, yes, bishop takes on e4. And yes, this bishop is a little bit shaky. in the center of the board, and Arjun kind of takes advantage of it with bishop h5. Now the bishop is hanging. You can push the pawn in the center of the board. Do you want to do that? He goes bishop g6, going back with the bishop. Now Arjun can come back. That looks good, but he takes it. Whoa, he goes into pure rook endgame. Now this might not be the best decision because this substantially lowers white's advantage. He could have kept the bishop on the board. Rook comes to e7. Now that's a nice move. It's attacking the pawn on c7. The rook comes up and defends that pawn, and now he comes back. Very interesting move. And the idea now for Arjun is to keep his rook on the third rank, attack here, and also defend this. But Levon says, I'm going to create counterplay with my a pawn, which is logical here, and that's the reason why Arjun has his rook here. And a4, fantastic move. It seems like black is getting a lot of counterplay. Rook comes to the center. Now d5 played by Levon, very interesting move. And when Arjun takes here, yes, this is becoming dangerous because 3 versus 1, and d takes c4 is a mistake. He should have taken a b3, but d takes c4 has been played, and Arjun plays this very nice move, very classy move, pinning here, and you can see Levon is unhappy. He takes on b3, and now the pawn will take back, and Levon must take the pawn on b3. Yes, and rook takes c4 has to happen. Absolutely. And now look at this position carefully, guys. Lot to learn from here. Firstly, white has 3 pawns versus 1, which is a huge asset. Huge asset. And secondly, black also has pawns on the queen side, but they are doubled and don't really move. So rook b2 played. And now he's attacking this pawn here on f2. So Arjun pushes his pawn to f3. And Levon attacks now the g2 pawn. The question is, how do things stand when one pair of rooks get traded? Takes, rook takes c2, and you take back. Rook takes c2. King comes up, and now I think this is a very, very easy game for Arjun because he has to just start pushing his pawns. g4, fantastic move there. Very nicely played. He's going to use his h pawn also to start pushing h4, h5. Will he do that? Will he first move his king? He goes with h4. The pawn is moving forward. Fantastic. King d6. The king comes up. And maybe now you attack the rook with h5. Oh, first bring the king up. So slowly and steadily, just like the slow hand of death, Arjun is moving up, and Levon is under big pressure. h5. What a game this has been from Arjun to sort of put pressure on a word. Oh, he moved his rook, but then he placed it back. Levon, and look at the gentleman Levon is. He writes down R. That means he has to move the rook. Just ensuring, because he's not left the rook, he can still move it wherever he wishes to. He finally goes rook to f6. But really a nice gesture there by Levon Aronian. And now Arjun moves his king upwards further, slowly. Levon has only one counterplay, which is his c pawn, and so he brings his king up. Pawn goes to g5. White's pawn look way faster and way more coordinated. The rook moves to the b file. Rook b6 has been played, and now Arjun can sort of slowly bring his king up. He can also play f4. Let's see what he decides. He's planning to go with his king. He goes king g4. Time-wise, Levon has only 14 minutes. Arjun has 19 minutes. Pawn comes to c4. And now Arjun plays f4. Now the logical idea here, after king d4, is to start pushing your pawns this way and this way. However, oh, he goes f5. This is a mistake. Somehow he's made a huge error here, Arjun Erigaisi. Because, you know, the thing is, You had to keep this square open for the king. If the rook came from behind, the king could move in like this. However, when he played his pawn to f5, in came the move c3 now. And this is a big issue for Arjun now, because h6 he still pushes it, but now this is no longer winning. He had to, but this still the defense is not so clear, because look at this. It's so natural. White has these two pawns. He next move g7 is coming up. How is Levon going to escape from here? Well, he has to bring his rook from the bottom. Wow, nice move, because if g7, rook takes rook, g8, there is a check and you lose the queen. So Arjun comes back, but now the rook swings over and you want to go to h5, but there is rook g5 check and you lose the f5 pawn. So that doesn't work. Goes king f3 here. And rook comes to g5, attacking the pawn on f5. The king comes up. And now pawn to c5 has been played here. So Levon has placed his rook so beautifully that none of the white pawns are moving forward. And somehow magically Levon has managed to trick Arjun, it seems. Does Arjun still have some chances? He goes king e4. Maybe he's hoping that he can place his rook on f1 and push this pawn forward. Rook f1 played. Still Arjun pushing in. He can have chances. The arbiter brings the new score sheet after 50 moves. So rook f1 played, and now king comes up to c3. Can Arjun now push his pawn? Yes, he pushes it. Very important. If you take here, then there is f7. So very nice move, check. Because if you go king e3, now I take it. If f7 check, and the king has to move to the f file, and then rook f6 wins for black. So king f5, check here. And Arjun cannot go to e6 because rook e6 here, because rook takes g6. So he comes back. There's a check again. And it seems like the players have to repeat. And they agree to a draw. Whoa, what a defense there. You can see Levon Aronian immediately discussing with Arjun about a possibility on how to win that position. And I'm sure Arjun had several ways to win. The arbiter comes in and stops them. But few things stand out in this game. Firstly, Arjun's opening choice, throwing Levon Aronian off his feet. And then this beautiful endgame play by Arjun, really getting the winning position there with some great moves. And then Levon Aronian striking back, as always, tricky. You cannot beat him. And look at Levon there talking to Parham Maksudlu, just saying, what the hell did I do today? I'm not supposed to play like this. But he survives. 5 draws for Levon, moves to 2.5 out of 5. Arjun also moves to a 50% score, and he'll be looking to strike again tomorrow in the remaining 2 rounds. But a very interesting game, and Arjun sets up all the pieces on the board.